What's up everyone, John Rettinger from TechnoBuffalo here, and I want to give you a full recap of all the great things that came out of the Apple Back to Mac event. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So if you see me look down, I got some notes in front of me. The conference just ended. I will start at the beginning when Steve Jobs came on stage and talked about the state of the Mac. 33% of revenue was the actual Mac hardware, the computers, which accounted for $22 billion, quite a lot. So the first product they announced was iLife 2011. It's going to have all the same apps, so iPhoto, iMovie, iWeb, GarageBand, and the like. It's also going to have a brand new iPhoto. Certainly all the apps are going to be revamped, and they showed a ton of new iPhoto features. So it's going to have a new full screen mode. It's going to have Facebook enhancements. It's actually going to pull down your Facebook picture, which is kind of cool. It's going to be able to email photos out. It's going to have better book creation and printing, so when you want to make albums. It's going to have this new letterpress card, this new way to send greeting cards to friends and family, especially with the holidays coming up. Kind of neat. They showed iMovie 11. You're going to get better audio editing. You're now going to get audio effects, which are kind of neat, all with the same sort of one-click easy editing that we've seen with previous generations of iMovie. You're also going to have a one-stop effects, which is kind of neat, so some new effects are going to be built in there. It's also going to have new sports themes. You're also going to be able to easily create trailers for your movies. So if your family goes on vacation and you want to show your grandma quick few minutes what you're going to do, you can create sort of almost cinematical looking movie trailers. Kind of neat, little gimmicky. I'm sure it'll get overused on YouTube. I'm sure I'll overuse it on YouTube. They showed GarageBand. It's got a new flex time feature. It's got some new groove maintaining stuff. It's got some new guitar amps and some new tutorials. Great. The next new thing they showed, they didn't go through the rest of the iLife apps, but they're all presumably updated. It's also going to be available today, by the way, and it's going to be $49 to upgrade, and it's going to come on all new Macs for free. Next thing they showed was FaceTime. Finally, FaceTime is coming as a desktop application for Mac, so you can use your Mac and your webcam to talk to anyone who's got a iPhone 4 or a new iPod Touch to get your FaceTime on, which is really cool, and I wish I had when I was in high school. But it's just a really nice feature. It probably should have been there from day one. It certainly augments and adds to the ability to have FaceTime. Actually, now you're not tied to just being device to device. You can now talk to someone desktop to device, which is really cool for international folks. If you have a friend overseas, or you're overseas traveling and you want to talk to your parents or your girlfriend, your wife, whatever it might be, this is now a really cool way to do it without having to have a computer in front of you, or at least both of you having to have a computer in front of you. Kind of neat. The next thing they showed, and was the reason there was a lion on the Back to Mac invite, they gave a sneak preview of the next version of OS 10. OS 10.7, which is going to be called Lion, keeping up with the same theme of the cat naming. So we've had Puma, Jaguar, Panther, Tiger, Leopard, Snow Leopard, and now Lion. Whew. So they showed some of the new features that are going to be coming out in Lion. Not all of them, but some of them. So we're going to have sort of iOS-like features. The whole reason behind the Back to the Mac was that OS 10 gave birth, I suppose, to iOS. iOS sort of went on over to the iPad, which became more desktop-like, and it comes full back around now where iOS is going to be influencing the desktop application. So how is it going to influence desktop application? Perhaps you're asking. I can hear you asking. Well, you are now going to have full multi-touch gestures sort of built into the trackpad more than we have in the past. So multi-touch gestures that worked on the iPhone or iPad will work on the Mac, but they're not going to work in the way you'd expect with the multi-touch screen, which Apple said they tried and really didn't work. They said it just didn't function quite properly in a vertical orientation, having to stretch your arm out all the time. Said you got arm fatigue. Who knows? I think it also would affect the hinges on a laptop, which we'll talk about a bit later. So all the multi-touchness is going to be done on the Magic Mouse, on the Magic Trackpad, and on the multi-touch trackpad on your laptops. They're also announcing, and this thing is going to just print money, is a new desktop app store. So you're not going to get just sort of the game type things and the light applications that maybe you get on the iPhone or iPod Touch. You're going to get full applications, so you can download pages or full desktop apps right on this app store, which is kind of neat. They're going to be in full screen. The apps will sort of auto update like they do on the iPhone and iPod Touch, which is kind of neat. You're going to have one-click payment. You're going to have free and paid apps. They're going to give the developer 70%, similar to what they do, or exactly what they do now, with the current App Store model. All apps that you buy be licensed to all Macs, so if you buy an app in one spot and you have a laptop as well, you buy it on your desktop, you'll be able to use it there as well. And all these new apps and stuff are going to go into something new called a Launchpad. Not the silly pilot from DuckTales. I just probably dated myself. So let's talk about Launchpad and what sort of goes into that. There's a new feature sort of built into that called Mission Control. Mission Control is going to let you view everything on your Mac. It sort of integrates Expose, Spaces, and sort of all those content viewing applications on the Mac. You're going to get a full screen grid. You can create folders much like you can on your iPad. Think of it as the way that you look at your icons on your iPad or iPhone, sort of in rows. You're going to have that same option to view your apps. You can set them up by categories, whatever you like, on your desktop. You go ahead and create folders as well, which is kind of neat. You can view things by clusters, like Windows. If you have a ton of Safari apps open, all the Safari apps will be clustered together. If you have a whole bunch of Word documents open, those will be clustered together. And such, which is kind of neat. And it's going to be coming summer of 2011. So odds are it'll be the very end of summer 2011. Kind of neat, but the App Store idea, it's going to be built into Lion, sounds so cool that Apple said they're going to be bringing it to Snow Leopard. And we will have it within 90 days. This thing is just going to make Apple probably a bajillion, or at least $250 million. Alright, and there was one more thing, to the surprise of no one, but still very high on the cool factor. The MacBook Air got a tremendous refresh, and this thing is now really kind of cool. So let me go ahead and run through the specs, and there was no manila envelope that it was pulled out of, unfortunately. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the MacBook Air. At its thickest point, it's 0.68 inches thick, which is super tiny. At its thinnest point, it's 0.11 inches thick. Weighs 2.9 pounds, it's got a full-size keyboard, it's got a 13.3-inch screen, backlit LED with a display of 1440 by 900, so super high resolution. It's got a Core 2 Duo chip in it, so reasonably well powered. NVIDIA GeForce 320M, multi-touch trackpad. But similar to, let's say, the iPad, for example, it's going to have Instant On. It's also going to have no optical drive and no hard drive. It's going to use flash storage, sort of the first time that we've really seen this used in the mainstream. So no more SSD sort of container. You have pure flash storage built into a computer, which should make for increased speeds, which is kind of neat. It's going to get 7 hours of battery life on web usage. This is 7 hours of actual usage that you're going to get. And you're going to get a whopping 30 days of standby time. But the 13.3-inch MacBook Air isn't the only MacBook Air that was announced. The rumors of a 11.6 MacBook Air, the little brother to the bigger guy, are true. And we've got an 11.6 MacBook Air. It's going to weigh 2.3 pounds. It's going to have the same Core 2 Duo family, a bit lower powered than what we have in the 13.3 MacBook Air. It's got the same NVIDIA graphics that we saw in the bigger MacBook Air, so that's the GeForce 320M. It's going to have pretty nice size storage too. It's going to start at, let's talk about prices actually. The 11.6 is going to have a 64 gigabyte flash storage. You can up that to 128 and add $200. It's going to have a 1.4 gigahertz processor, and it's going to start at $999. The 13.3 is going to start at $1299, 1.86 gigahertz Core 2 Duo processor, have 128 gig standard. You can up that to 256 for $1599, and they are going to be available today. So what do you guys think? Are you excited? Are you going to go out there and get one? Or are you not going to go out there and get one? The $999 sort of entry price point puts it a few $100s above the highest spec iPad and a few $100s more than a higher level netbook. You're going to get a lot more features. I'm pretty excited to get my hands on these and see what they look like. I'll obviously give you guys hands-on opinions. I'm really curious to know what you guys think about all of these new products that were announced. Excited, not excited, you care, not care, you sick of Apple. I want to know what you guys have to say. Be sure to stay tuned to TechnoBuffalo for all of the Apple coverage. I'm John Rettinger, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.